as a young manager, one of the hardest things I ever had to do was my best friend worked at the dental practice and I had to fire her.
You know what sucks, Michelle? I've had to fire people I didn't agree with the firing. That was rough because I understood, but I didn't agree.
Payroll was the hardest thing for me because you're dealing with other people's life. And so if you mess one thing up, oh no, that's not something that I loved.
Managers don't ask for help. I think they do see it as a weakness. And I don't think it's a weakness. I think it's a growth opportunity.
The new managers, I feel like they're going to be hungry, but
my goal is to share insights and business strategies so that dental professionals like you can grow your company. My plan is to grow this podcast to reach and support more people in our field. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. It helps the show grow. Plus, I don't want you to miss an episode. Thank you for being a part of the journey.
And we are back with another edition of Nobody Told Me That. I have a repeat guest, but also one of my dear friends from a very long time ago, Michelle Affanato. How are you, Michelle?
Good, Teresa. Thank you so much for having me on again.
Oh, it's always fun. And so listeners, we're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff, but we're going to focus on managers, new managers, and what you wrote in the description was kind of funny. And that's why I was like, okay, let's take this in a direction. So today we're going to talk about new manager energy. And then we'll talk about, who you are and all that kind of stuff too. But let's just kind of jump into it because if people have been listening, they know who you are. Affinity Dental Management, one of my good friends, one of my co-presenters at the upcoming Practice Management Power Day in Denver in September. Real quick too, before I forget, you have a podcast with our other friend, Malika Azargun, called Accelerate Your Dental Practice. So all of that's out there. People who didn't know you kind of get an idea about you, but let's just jump in because new manager energy, first of all, when I became a new manager, I don't know if I had energy. I was already tired, but especially if you're getting promoted from within, which is something I think you and I both dealt with, right, in our careers. So when you wrote new manager energy, what the heck were you talking about? What does that mean to you?
Yeah. So kind of two things, really. One, I have been working with a lot of new managers lately. Most people will think about me working with startup dentists, right? New dentists and teaching them all about the business. But I've been working a lot with managers that kind of get promoted from within, and it made me do a lot of thinking about when I became a manager, right? I think you know my story, right? I started in dentistry when I was 15, went to school to be a dental assistant, was cross-trained, all of that stuff. And so in my early 20s, one day they were like, hey, you've been here a really long time, Michelle. You seem to know what's going on. Poof, you're the office manager now. And I had no formal training. There weren't, these Facebook groups around or groups for people to go for or a lot of CE for an administrator. And so I was rambling and trying to figure things out on my own. And so one of the things now that I look back and that I've heard from some of the managers that I've been working with lately is just I wish I had somebody who could guide me through these things that I have nobody else to ask. And even sometimes now that there are these groups and these organizations, people are still really shy and they're afraid to go out there because they feel like my question, they're going to make fun of my question. It's a stupid question. Yeah. And it's really not, right? So as I've been listening to these managers that I've been working with, I'm like, wow, not much has changed since I was just thrown into that role. Yeah. So there's two different things that I'm thinking of is one, the person that's promoted from within and the newbie to the office where a doctor's never had a manager before.
Oof. So that part's tough because when a doctor has had a manager, well, it's tough all around. So if a doctor's had a manager, sometimes they were burned and that's really hard to kind of unprogram or deprogram. But if a doctor's never had a manager, I find, and you've dealt with a lot of young dentists because you've done startups for years. What I find is that they want so much to have a good relationship with the manager that then the boundaries get really blurred. And I'm not talking emotional. I'm not talking about relationships as far as that, more than friends. I'm talking about the doctors see them as a confidant or an equal, but they're not an equal. And I think a good manager realizes that and doesn't see him or herself as the practice owner. They have ownership mentality. I think that's very different than saying, I do so much around here, I deserve this. That's an entitlement rather than, what we've seen in some bad situations. But being promoted from within is kind of where I like to lean in. Let's go in first with
Yeah.
that one because that's hard. I mean, that was definitely me, kind of like your story. Like, you've been here the longest, so you're the manager. And it's like,
Yeah.
what the heck happened here? Right. And so asking for help is hard because you go from being like 1 minute, you're the person in the office that's supposed to fix everything. And then the next minute, like to be a better manager, I'm supposed to be vulnerable and ask for help. Like those are two different mind, sets. And no wonder managers don't ask for help because I think they do see it as a weakness.
Yes.
And I don't think it's a weakness. I think it's a growth opportunity, right? Like, I feel like that's what they should think about it as. But I have the mindset and the viewpoint of so many years in the business. So I feel like that's really easy for me to say. And I'm not giving them enough credit for being in a difficult spot. So you've had a lot more with young managers and young dentists. So let's talk about the going up from within. So how do you see that happening? And then what do you see go wrong that very easily could have just been avoided? Let's go there.
So I think, and I love my dentists. And in general, they're not necessarily the best leaders themselves, right?
Right.
And they struggle a lot with the administrative, the business side of the practice because they went to school to be clinicians, right?
Yeah.
So they can work within a hygienist and an assistant and understand their day to day way better than they understand an administrative person's, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of times when a doctor wants an office manager and is like, hey, I'm going to promote somebody within, hey, you've been my insurance coordinator. You're basically my office manager now. They just give the title without setting the expectation or give clarity on what exactly you want this person to do. Teresa, we've worked with so many doctors over the
Yeah.
years, right? And we know that every single doctor uses a manager differently, right? There's managers who sit in an office and kind of delegate to most of the staff and like they don't have a lot of interaction with insurance or day to day with patients and
Mhm.
seeing what's going on, right? They're hearing it from the team, but they're not in it themselves. Then you have office managers that they sit right up at the front desk and they're checking people in and they're posting insurance payments and they're all hands. So I think first of all, doctors need to understand like what exactly do you want this person to do for you?
Yeah.
And there's a very wide range. I work with plenty of doctors who are like, you can do everything for me, but I'm still going to do all the hiring. Like, I want to keep that portion for myself as the owner.
Okay.
I've seen people give everything up, but then the doctor is just like, well, I'm giving it all to you. And they take their finger off the pulse and then now they have absolutely no idea what's
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah, that's a
So
mess.
I get it because when you promote from within, like you really trust this person and you're putting them into a position where like you can rely on this person, but that doesn't mean like you just hand the keys to the kingdom over
Yeah.
to them. Like the manager and doctor have to have a great working relationship, but the communication has to be spot on
Mhm.
between them because how many times do we run into like manager being like, I thought this is what you wanted me to do, and the doctor's frustrated because they're not doing what they want to do. Like you can't assume that they
Right.
just know.
Right. And so the whole communication piece, it's really funny, but it's almost like if you have a mentor or a coach, it's almost like a therapist, and you don't think you need therapy for an office manager doctor relationship. But I am really 100% in this. I think more managers could have really been such rock stars had there been some sort of coaching between the manager and the doctor. I've seen such good managers leave a practice that really needed them because there was just the meeting of the minds wasn't there from either side, or it was the doctor that was maybe jaded from the last manager. I mean, I'm sure you've dealt with this. Doctor got burned by a manager because they did turn over everything and then the manager did all this stuff and they were like, oh my gosh, that's not what I wanted. So now they don't let anything happen. So this just,
Yes.
what sucks is when you're a manager in name only. What an awful feeling. And that's where I see a lot of people going, I'm leaving. I can't do anything here anyways. What's the point? So
Right.
that's hard. That's really hard.
That's really hard, especially when this person has worked their way up in the office, right? Like they don't even have to have been a front office person. They could have been an assistant, right? Right now, I'm working with an office manager who was the lead dental assistant.
Mm,
And the doctor just saw something in her that was like, she's got the leadership capability.
nice.
Yeah, she's a little weak in the administrative thing. So I came on board to kind of coach her through some of the administrative things. She's got the team management part down. Like she has
Yeah.
that really good. So I think that that relationship and just like to me it's all about expectations. It's
Yeah.
all about expectations. And I think in dentistry in general, like we don't know how to communicate that to each other. It's
I
like
mean, Yeah. You're right, and it's almost like before you bring on a manager, even if it's somebody from within, like, maybe have a checklist of all the duties a manager does, right? And I know that's something you and I mean, many people who've been doing this a long time have it, so that's the power of networking is finding somebody that can help you with this, like a mentor. Go down through that checklist, and doctor's like, "No, off limits, off limits." And that I don't get offended when someone tells me not to do X. That just
Right.
means, "Great, I'm gonna do this over here." Like, so managers, if you get told, "I don't want you doing this," don't be like, "Well, why not?" Like, "Don't worry, you're gonna have enough to do." Like,
More
what are
than
you
enough.
freaking Right, right. So as far as what they don't turn over to the manager, what do you see them not turning over and then eventually they turn over? Like, it feels like when they turn over that last thing, it's like seal of approval, like, "Now you can really run my practice." What do you see as that
So
thing?
the two main things are HR. Like they still want a little bit of control over who they hire and if they're letting anybody go. Like they're
Mhm.
all for letting that manager have the difficult conversations with the employee while they're hired because they don't want to do that. But when it
Yeah,
comes to those big decisions of hiring or terminating somebody, they still want to be the final decision maker in that. I see that a lot. But eventually, as the team grows and as the doctor has more years of experience, they're more willing to give that up.
yeah, yeah.
And the other thing is accounts payable. A lot of
Oh,
them still like
okay.
to keep that close. They have just this weird thing about like letting people know or a team member know like what the expenses are. Because let's be real, right? Like some doctors do put some personal stuff through the business, right? Whether
Right.
their CPA has suggested that they do it or whatever. I think that also one. And plus, when you give up that, like a lot of times you're giving a big piece of ownership and control because maybe like this person now has their own credit card for the
Mhm,
business. Or
mhm,
maybe they're like you put them on as a signer in your bank account and they can like actually sign checks. So like that makes them really vulnerable if
mhm.
they are not paying attention to things on a daily basis. And
Right.
so I see that one probably as the one that is the last to go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and honestly, just personally, with my old boss, I never handled the accounts payable and I was really happy about that. Like I knew it. I knew what was going on. I saw everything that was going on, but it was another person that was handling it that was independent. And I was okay with that because that was a lot of work. Like it was enough for somebody else to come on part-time and
Yeah.
do that, as a project. That would have really taken away from what I had to do. And that was a small practice. I can't even imagine doing accounts payable with supplies and all that stuff with
Yeah.
a large practice, forget it. So don't be offended if things are taken from you, managers. Like sometimes that's good. Like I was so happy when payroll was taken. I was like, yes, take it, take it.
Yeah.
I hated payroll so much. Oh my gosh.
Payroll was the hardest thing for me because like that you're dealing with other people's life. That's their life, right? And so if you mess one thing up, it's
Yeah.
like they didn't get paid today, or like you messed up the hours, so didn't get paid as much. Oh no, that's not something
Yeah,
that I
and then you have
loved
to
to
deal
do.
with, like, a retirement account distributions and
Yeah.
things like that. I was like, "Can we please?" Like, "Hello?" So that was really I was happy about that. There's another aspect when you're a new manager that I think if anybody really gets anything from this, I hope they listen to this. You and I have dealt with this. There's the respect piece from your coworkers because you went from crazy stuff maybe on the weekends with your coworkers, and now you're managing, and that dynamic is really, really weird when you get promoted and now you're in charge of people and they don't see you as the manager. So, can you talk about that? Because I know you've seen that in your offices
Oh, I
before.
mean, I went through it. I went through it
Yep.
because again, I started in dentistry when I was 15. So I like had a lot of years in and I was in my early 20s and became the manager and like everybody else was like, "What?" And I'll never forget one of the hygienists because I used to like I'd have a lot of meetings at lunchtime or I'd be working on stuff and I was told like you can't just be friends with them all the time anymore. And I'll never forget there was one day, I don't remember what happened, but I actually went to the break room and had lunch with them and the hygienist made a comment like, "Oh, you're having lunch with us peons today?" And that hurt. That
Yeah.
hurt me so much because I wanted, like, a lot of these people, like, I was friends with before. And I feel like that it was really hard. And now when I coach people, because the same thing happens, like, as they work their way up, they're like, I used to be really good friends with this person. We used to go, like, out to eat on the weekends, or we'd go to, like, concerts together. And now they won't even talk to me. I don't get invited to those things anymore. And I just say, like, it's very lonely at the top, like, working your way to the top. Like, I get it. You want to be friends with them. But being friends with them isn't going to pay your bills, right? So I go into it with the mindset, and I help people because some personalities can handle that a little easier than others. And again, I was young. It took me time. Like, now it wouldn't bother me at all, right? Because I'd be like, well, I'm here to do a job for the doctor. That's the mindset I have now, right? I'm here to do a job for the doctor. You don't need to like me. I don't need to be your best friend. But back then when I was new, like, I wanted everybody to still like me. And that was a big, big challenge.
Right. And I feel like if that is very important to you, it doesn't mean that you're not manager material. It may just mean at this point in your career, maybe you're an administrative lead versus a manager. Like, maybe you're not a manager. Maybe you are just learning and soaking up as much business skills, many skills as you can. And some people, they do become managers and then they go right back down. They don't like it. And I've heard that plenty of times from really smart people. They don't like it. One girl told me I'd rather hang out with them than babysit them. And I thought that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, it's a really good way of putting it. And they actually brought in that particular office, they brought in a manager from outside that had experience. And it was a very good fit because she, like you said, was there to do a job. And that's not to say that you can't be friendly, but they're not your confidant anymore, which is hard because you probably 2 weeks ago were venting and complaining about things. And now you're the person that they're going to complain about. And, people get quiet when you walk in a room. That happened to me. And I was oh boy, and instead of going in the beginning, I would be like, oh, what are you guys talking about? Now I'm like, what were you guys talking about? Like, it's very different.
And I have to say, as a young manager, one of the hardest things I ever had to do was my best friend worked at the dental practice with us. She was up front and I had to fire her. And we've been like best friends since we were 5 years old. And having to let her go was way harder for me than it was for her to have me let her go. And like, she was like the best thing. She was probably one of the first people that I really had to fire.
Oh, wow.
And she was just like, it's okay, Michelle. Like, I know, like, it didn't really come from you. And I was like,
like she's making you feel better. This is
and I
hilarious.
was like, oh my gosh, okay. And like, here we are, and we're still best friends.
Awesome.
So like that, it was work. It was about work, right? And she knew like work Michelle had to do a certain thing where like we're best friends and we're still going to continue to see each other. And that Michelle's different. And I separated it, right? I was really able to separate it. Like, hey, we're not going to talk about the office when we're not in the office. And, when we're at work, you have a job to do. And I'm the one who's, here to make sure that you're being held accountable and supporting you in that role. So coming into it, first of all, I was so excited to become a manager. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, look at me, like working my way up.
Of course.
Within the first 30 days, I was like, I don't know what I stepped into. Like, why did I do this to myself? So for me to get myself up there and really feel like I was doing right, because my doctor didn't know what to tell me to do, right? Like there's all this HR stuff. And I was like, I didn't go to school for HR. I know nothing about HR. It's so confusing based on the state, the number of employees that you have, like all different situations. So the first thing I did was like, we're going to hire a company that's going to take care of our HR stuff. And I'm the person that's going to enforce the stuff and make sure. But like, I can't be expected to know all this HR stuff. Like,
absolutely. Yeah.
And so I started focusing on like, I need to learn as much as I can to make sure our accounts receivable is in line, that this team is scheduling correctly. Back when I was a manager, 15 plus years ago, the focus on culture wasn't as big as it is now.
That's very true. That's a good point. Yeah, that's very true.
Yes.
It was like, just do your job.
Exactly. Exactly. And you could talk to people and be like, what are you doing? Like, you need to do this. You could be very blunt. You cannot do that now. And you realize now as a manager, right? This person's a bad apple. And we try to coddle them and make them better, but we should know, especially as a new manager, like, don't hang on to them too long. If
Yeah.
you're seeing that, like, it'll destroy a great thing really quick. That's something that I have learned, but I also was like, I'm going to take every course I can, right? Like, I want to like just learn, and I'm going to go to people and I'm going to learn. And like, that's how I met you, right? At a CE course. And,
Yeah.
the rest is history.
Rest is
But
history. That's right. That's right.
but I feel like that's really important. So when the doctor says to you, hey, I have this opening for an office manager position, I think you would be a good candidate. I think as a new manager, like, do not say yes on the spot.
Yeah.
I would say, I'm flattered. Please let me take some time to think about it. And when you're thinking about it, write down questions.
Yeah.
Because if they're not presenting you with a job description and exact expectations of what they want the role, I think one of the big things for a manager is you go from being an hourly employee that they don't want you to work over 40 hours, they don't want to pay you overtime, to now, depending on your salary and the decisions in the job description that they want you to make, to being a salaried employee who should be on call at night in the weekend and expected to do this, that, and the other thing. And that is a big change.
Yeah. It is.
Big
It is.
change.
And if you're a manager, you should get compensated more. I see this though, like you're the manager, I'll give you like $1 more an hour. And it's like, wait, now
Right.
I'm in charge of everything. But I've seen that. And I
Mhm.
get it from the dentist point of view because, they want to recognize the employee, but they really haven't run the numbers because maybe they don't know. They haven't run the numbers to what a comparable salary is for an office
Right.
manager. And down the road, that leads to resentment when the manager starts talking to other managers and realizes, oh my gosh, I'm doing the work of 4 people and I'm getting paid less. Like that's just a disaster. And a lot of times the doctor doesn't even realize like how
No.
badly underpaid this person is. But also you're taking on all these tasks. So the question I would ask is, am I still supposed to do all this plus this? Or am I doing this and losing some stuff? Because doctors, if it's a small office, kind of think you're going to do
Do it all.
this plus.
Yeah.
And I mean, talk about burnout, right? Let's talk about being in over your head. So when you were saying like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing. Let's talk about that because I hear people calling it imposter syndrome. I kind of feel like it was like, oh crap, I'm in over my head or I don't know what I'm doing syndrome. Like it's not imposter syndrome. Like I'm a manager. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. I've earned this is kind of where you think you are. So I don't think that's imposter syndrome. I think it's like I bit off more than I could chew.
Yeah.
So I had that feeling a lot like, okay, I am totally unprepared for this. And that kind of leans into the next new manager energy that you were mentioning is like, you don't know it, like you don't know. Like you're like, what is this HR? Like HR, HIPAA. HIPAA came about when you and I were managers. Like there was no
Yes.
HIPAA when we were hired. And then all of a sudden there was this big thing called HIPAA. And we learned we had to have a manual for this HIPAA thing. And we were like, what do we do with this manual? And all the info was just fill it out, put yourself as the contact, and then put it on the shelf. And
Yeah.
right. And now we're like, oh, yearly trainings. I don't remember reading.
Yeah. And now like the security rules there, like it has, oh my gosh, so much has happened.
So it's a whole
So
thing, right? And then HR. So, I mean, just all the stuff that can, in my classes, I talk about all the stuff that can get you shut down and fined. As a manager, like you can't just say, I didn't know about it. Like when you're a manager, like you got to own that. That is part of your job description. So you're saying ask for a job description, but I'm thinking as a manager, go out and find out what other managers are doing.
Exactly. Exactly. Because, it's so fascinating to me. And this doesn't just apply to new managers, right? I believe in dentistry, in any role in dentistry, if you aren't seeking education for yourself, because things are constantly changing,
Oh my
constantly
gosh.
changing, right?
Yeah.
I feel like in the past 2 conversations you and I had, Teresa, like we came up with like 2 things that we were like, wait, and it was insurance related, right? That we
Yeah.
were like, oh my gosh, how are we going to deal with this? And like,
Yeah.
why is this like this, right? So you're constantly learning. You've got to constantly be out there, education and keeping yourself abreast with like everything that is happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here I am with an office. It was a new client to me, fairly new owner, it was an acquisition.
Okay.
And I was talking to the manager who has over 15 years of experience.
Okay.
And we were talking about, because in this particular situation, the employees that worked for the first office, the doctor was acquiring a second practice, and they was going to be the same employees in both locations. However, different payroll. So they have to fill out all the paperwork. It's a different tax ID number.
Oh,
So it's
yeah?
basically they're working for two different entities, right?
Wow, okay.
So while I was there, I was like, can I see what your like new hire paperwork is? And the first thing I said is, where's your I-9 form?
Oh, no.
And she said to me, what's an I-9 form?
Oh, no.
And this is somebody who's been a manager for over 15 years. And
Oh,
she's like,
wow.
never in my life have I filled out an I-9 form or have I had any of our employees
Oh,
fill
God.
out an I-9 form.
Well, there's a fine.
I was like, okay, well, guess what? I'm here and and we're going to fill out I-9 forms for that. I can't help you with
You
what
get an
happened.
I-9 and you get an I-9 and you get a right.
But so I feel like the new managers, right? I feel like they're going to be hungry.
Yeah.
They're going to be hungry, but you can't back off. Like you've got to have that hunger and that willingness to learn and the willingness not just to take the practice to the next level, but to take you to the next level. Because if you plateau, I mean, how many managers, Teresa, along the way have you and I come across that have been like, I've been doing this for 20 years. I already know how to do anything. I don't need to take that course. I don't need to do this.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
a couple right now that are really frustrating doctors.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, those were the ones, once I did like onboarding with when I was consulting, when I onboarded, I would actively avoid those offices. And not because I didn't think I could make a difference, but because I don't have the patience. I don't have the patience. So you and I have been doing this a long time. And I probably would have been kinder about this maybe 5 years ago. But now I realize they're dinosaurs. Let's be honest. They're dinosaurs and they need to either step up or step out because they're holding back the offices that they're in. And they're not just holding them back, they're a liability. And that has bothered me since I started speaking. And I would see it. And there was like this pride of like, I've been doing this a long time. What can you teach me? And, I saw that as a challenge in the beginning. And then I would teach them something new. Yay, that's all that. That's great. But if you're in dentistry this long and you can't see how difficult it's gotten, what the heck are you doing in your office that's so sheltered? How uncompliant are you? Because you don't realize it's so difficult. Like that tells me when I run into that, like there's no I-9s, reviews aren't being done. I bet that she has nothing to do with the budget, nothing to do with goal setting. There probably isn't goal setting. And I'm going to also go out on a limb and assume that she runs that practice with like everybody's scared of her.
100% spot on.
Right? So
Spot on.
why would you keep someone like that in your office, doctors? I mean, unless you're married to them, it's your mom. Throw that out. But why would you willingly keep somebody like that in your office? Like you're hindering yourself right there. So I'm just saying, like, if you're working with a dinosaur, I mean, good luck. Call Michelle. Don't call me because I don't like. I'm so done with them. Like, because
I
I
know.
will say to them, "Are you happy?" Like that was what started the last conversation. Are you
Yeah.
happy in dentistry? Because like you don't seem happy about anything that we talk about.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you mean? I love this job. No, you don't. So sorry. Now I'm ranting
And
because you
can
see how much it
tell.
bothers me.
Right. So that's what, it's so funny because people will say, like, I don't feel like I'm that old, right? I started in dentistry when I was 15. I've been doing this for a very long time. But people will say to me when I start talking, like, I think you can see it here in this podcast episode. Like, I'm so passionate about it. Like, I might wake up in the morning and be grumpy, right? I'm not a morning person. I wake up in the morning, I'm grumpy. The second I get on the phone with my client, even if they're having a crisis in their office, like, it makes me feel so good to be in dentistry. Like, and that's what I want for people. I don't want managers or anybody working in an office, right, to be driving to work crying and sitting in the parking lot and not wanting to go in and like being so stressed out all the time. Like, that's not healthy for anybody. So there's things that you have to do. Like, you really have to see, like, one, is management the right role for me? Because you can do many things in dentistry with never being a manager.
For sure.
And that doesn't mean that you're not successful in your career, right? So I think that's important to think about. I think it's also important, like, if you're going into a role, what are the expectations? Are they clear? Is things like, very blurry and you're not sure, or the doctor's changing things every single day and you feel like you're never going to meet those expectations or do anything right? The other thing that I've seen, and I don't even understand this for 1 second, is they tell, like, hey, Teresa, like, you've been doing this for a while, you're going to be my office manager, but they don't tell anybody else on the team.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it? That's weird. That's like getting a pat on the head and then the person ignoring you in front of everyone else. Like, that's so weird. But
But it
you're right. And
happens.
talk about like not supporting your person. And you were saying something earlier, like, the doctor's not doing this and the doctor's not doing that. And to be fair, most doctors want to do the right thing.
Yeah.
But there are doctors that are terrible to work for. You might be in an office that it is terrible there. Like, and you want so bad to fix it and you feel loyalty. And so you stay there and you're miserable. Girl, man, guy, dude, whatever, get out. Because if you want to be a manager that badly and really improve and excel in dentistry, go to a place that's going to help you with that.
Yeah.
Do you know how many office dentists call you and me and say, do you know anybody good? I'm looking. And like,
Yeah.
the good ones find a good place and they stay there.
Yeah.
So, if you're in a place and you're not happy, then tell people, talk to people, tell other people that you think are going to hold your confidence and then see if just get out, start looking around. So many
Yeah.
opportunities. So going back to the doctor that doesn't tell anybody else. So what's going on there? Like, what? Why?
I don't understand that at all. Like, doctors want to be secretive about stuff a lot, but you can't empower someone to be your office manager and expect them to deliver on what you're giving them to do. They'll
Yeah.
walk right up to the assistant if you tell them to do something, and the assistant's gonna be like, "Who are you to tell me
Right.
that I
Right.
can't do that?" Or I shouldn't have my phone out or whatever it is. And so if you're going to do it, like my suggestion, and it can't be done like in passing, like, hey, I just decided to make Michelle my manager this morning,
Yes.
right? Team meeting, celebrate it. Let the team know what to expect. This is our new manager. I need you to listen to her as if you were listening to me. She's going to be handling these things. This is what we're going to do. Like, it has to be done, docs. Like, if you
Yeah.
don't do it, you're going to set that person up for failure and you're going to create a lot of confusion in your office.
So let's talk about the other side of that, though, which I went through for a brief period of time before we finally got it straight. But this is what I see most managers leaving over. This right here is why your manager is going to leave you, because you give him or her the permission and the power to do things. And then when something is done on your behalf in good faith, you undo it. The assistant who's saying, who are you to tell me this, goes and runs to you. And then you as the doctor come to me and say, okay, I know we talked and it was okay for you to discipline her, but maybe let's just back off a little bit. So doctors, when you do that, when you undercut us, like that just reinforces that we're not the manager. That's the message that they're sending. You probably see that a lot too, because the doctor wants to be liked also.
Right.
And the doctors for sure don't want any hostility like emanating from their assistant in the back because they can feel
Oh,
it.
for
Like it's like
sure.
the aura, right? So I feel like assistants, I've said this before on the podcast, I feel like assistants are a protected class in dentistry. Like if the assistant basically has to kill someone to get fired sometimes in some offices, right? I don't think I'm exaggerating. Like I
No,
really
you're
have
not
seen assistants
exaggerating.
like run over the whole office because they know the doctor like would never fire them. So give us, scenarios, advice for the doctors that don't like kind of take it back or undercut the manager. Let's talk about that and your experiences.
So I always joke with all of my doctors because I'll working with a lot of startups. I'll say to them, like, you're not just a dentist anymore, right? You're a practice owner, you're a leader, all of that, right? But I really, and I joke and I say, I feel like there's a box on your dental school application that says, I am non-confrontational. And if you don't check that box, you don't get into dental school because so many dentists, they just don't want to deal with that. Right.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
part of the reason. It's not because they're trying to undermine their manager. It's because they don't want to get into it.
Yeah, for sure.
And what they don't realize is like, when you're not holding accountable and not supporting your staff, and this doesn't just go with your manager having a discussion with a team member, this goes against like with patients too. And, I've seen a couple instances where the office manager has made the decision to dismiss a patient because of their behavior towards the staff or whatever. And then the patient calls the doctor and the doctor's like, oh, okay, we'll give you one more chance. I understand. How does that make them look, right? So if you're going to put somebody in this role, and again, it goes back to the clear expectations, like I will back you 100%. Or in situations such as these, I really need you to come to me first. Like you got to let them know, like you can't empower them and tell them you want them to take over everything. And when they do it, almost punish them by taking it back or not supporting them. So I do see it a lot and it works both ways, team members and patients.
Sure.
And I think that is a really big frustration for managers. Like, they can deal with a lot of the other stuff because they're just like, oh, it's dentistry and every day is different. And like, I can deal with that stuff. When
Yeah.
you're not supported by your boss,
Yeah.
it makes this person look bad. And then how does the team look at them the next time they go to implement something at a meeting or a one-on-one conversation? They're like, it doesn't matter. I'll just go to the doctor and,
Yeah.
mom's mean, so I'll go to dad because he's nicer.
Well, and sometimes they're so like just upfront about it. Like it's almost disrespectful where they'll go, you can do that, but I'm just going to go talk to him. I've seen that. And not
Yep.
in myself, but I've seen that in offices, It was probably said behind my back anyways, but I had great employees that I worked with, but boy, the stinkers were just mean. And boy, some were hard to get fired, but finally, it's like they do it to themselves, honestly. Like here's another thing about firing. Like let's talk about just giving advice on firing. Like when you have to fire someone, you should never feel bad. You can be emotional. Yeah, it's going to be not great, but don't feel bad about firing someone. That person did it to themselves. Like you're
Right.
just the catalyst for it. It's almost like how we are with patients. Like we feel bad that patients have a copay or co-insurance. It's like, why am I feeling bad about that? This is their plan. And same thing with if you have to fire someone, you should have done all of the steps up to, right? Like
Yes,
the
that's
performance improvement and all that kind of stuff and the meetings. If you didn't do that, yeah, there's a problem. You got to work
yeah.
on that. But if you
Yeah,
did
it
all
shouldn't be
that,
a surprise. Like, if someone's
yeah.
getting fired, you should have had enough conversations that they're not blindsided
Yeah,
by
for
it.
sure. Yeah. And I mean, so you've had to coach some people through the firings. So talk about that. Like, are there some funny, or do
Oh
you
my
have any
gosh.
good stories? Honestly, I feel like sometimes podcast listeners just want to hear like the real
Oh
bad
my gosh.
stuff.
I had and it was a startup doctor, so he didn't have an office manager, and he was like, "Hey, Michelle, like, I'm gonna fire this person. Can you be on Zoom with me while I fire her?" Because he didn't have anybody that could be, like, the witness.
Oh, the
And the
witness,
team
right.
yeah, and the team
Right.
knew me because, like, they were a startup. I had a lot to do with the team.
But that's weird. So
And
you're like a floating head in the background.
Hey, and it wasn't a close office. If it was a close office, I'm like, sure, I'll pop in
Yeah.
and do that, which I've had to do. I've
Yeah.
totally had to do. But this one in particular just sticks in my mind because he told this person, like, we had talked to her several times. She was just making a lot of mistakes, showing up late, calling out. Like, she just was not a good fit for that
Yeah.
office.
Yeah.
And we didn't let her stay very long. Like, it might have been right around the 90 days, even. Like, we just knew it wasn't going to work. And so I prepped him for that conversation, and he did such a good job. Like, he was like his first firing, and he sits down and he's telling her, and he's in his office sitting at his desk. She's on the other side. She jumped across the desk.
Stop
Oh,
it.
I literally thought I was gonna have to call the cops. We
Oh
almost
my
did because she wouldn't
gosh.
even leave. He was like, "I need you to calm down," and I'm, like, trying, and here I am all panicked 'cause, like, I'm watching all of this unfold over Zoom,
Oh
and I'm
my
like, "I can't be here with him,"
Were
and
you
he's in
recording? Hopefully you were recording.
No, I don't think I recorded,
Darn it.
but it's, like, stuck in my brain
I'm sure.
forever because, I mean, nothing like that happened to me, but I also, like, okay, so that's one instance is, like, you just never know how anyone is gonna react. You remember an office that you and I worked on together, and they fired the front office person. Do you remember she hired, like, private security?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. And actually, that's come up, I wanna say probably 5 or 6 offices I've worked with where security has had to be hired. So and for people who are wondering, like, "What do you mean worked on?" Like, Michelle actually worked for Odyssey for
I
a long
did.
time, and then she went off and excelled at startups and all that kinda thing. I mean, I knew you were gonna do your own thing. I think I even told you that. I'm like, "You're gonna start your own thing at some point." Like, I just knew
Everybody
it.
believed it except for me.
Yeah, I know, and I knew it was gonna happen, and it was fine, and that was actually one of the best things that happened to Odyssey because that let me say, "I really don't wanna consult." Like, if Michelle and Bridget aren't here, no, I'm not doing this. That changed the trajectory of
Yeah.
Odyssey, so I should probably really thank you for that, like, you deciding to do your thing. But we had that mutual client, yep, I remember very well, and but security, like, don't be afraid to call security because people are crazy, and this
Oh,
girl
yeah.
crazy, right? And it's not even the people that are working in the office. Like if you feel like sometimes our employees have crazy family members or boyfriends or girlfriends
Oh,
or
yeah.
husbands and spouses, like you should have a security company written down somewhere because and what happens so people like what we're talking about is they hired them for the mornings. I know this is normally what happens, but
Yep.
mornings so the employees got in and then in the evenings employees got out. Like just to make sure everybody was
Yeah.
safe, right? Like and you're thinking that's crazy, but
Yeah,
listen,
it happens. The other extreme that I've seen happen too, so like you mentioned earlier, Teresa, like it's difficult when you're firing somebody, right? I always say, unless they've like assaulted you or like stolen a lot of money from you, right?
yeah.
they're good people, right? And
Yeah.
this is like someone's livelihood that you're
Right.
messing with. But you have to feel okay that you did everything you possibly could to mentor, to train this person up, to support them, to give them the opportunity to do well and thrive in your practice, right? And some people just don't, right? So if you get to that point, I had a doctor who was firing somebody, and the doctor's like, I just cried the whole time. We like hugged it out, and I cried, and I was like, oh gosh, that was like her first firing. So people think sometimes that I'm cold hearted, but you have to take the emotion out of it, right? It's not personal. You
Right.
might really like this person, but they just might not be great in the job or the right fit for your practice.
Mhm.
So, like, yeah, okay. I used to, for a while, and again, remember, I was young and I was so green. So I had to learn from
Yeah.
mistakes
Yeah,
sometimes,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so now I just I prepare myself. Like, it's not personal. I did this, this, and this for you. Like, I appreciate everything you did for me. They start crying. I just push the tissues across the table, give
Yep.
them a minute.
Yep.
Give them a minute to do it. And then, it's really important that you show support. Like, this is hard for them because you don't know really what's going on for them. So I don't care if it's the first person you're letting go or the 50th person. It's not easy to do.
Mm-mm.
Right.
No.
So that's important, but you can't get all emotional in that meeting. And as a new
Mm-mm.
manager, remember, especially if you're promoted from within, some of these might be your friends. They were your equals
Yeah.
before. If you have to do it, that's a real challenge.
Well, and I would also caution the less you say, the better.
Yeah.
Because it could go legal in
Hmm.
any situation, so the less you say, the better, and whatever you say should also be documented. And there's a reason why people get fired over Zoom. It's recorded, everything's there, right?
Yeah.
But I think the respectful piece too is, you don't wanna commiserate, but you also don't wanna say anything like, "Well, if you had done this," or no, 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 nothing like that. Just you have a job to do that day, get rid of them, and that's it. And I remember talking to somebody, another manager, and something that she said was like, "This person's" before the firing, she's like, "This person's always gonna remember me." And I was like, "Yeah, she is." Like, I think back, I've been
Yeah.
fired from one job. I was 15 and a half, and looking back, I deserve to be fired. I was not great at the job. Lots of reasons, but not great. But I remember her face, and I remember the office, and I remember the chair I was sitting in, and I remember her tone. I remember everything about her. So managers, everybody you fire is gonna have that same memory of you, and you've gotta be okay with it. So the less you say, the better, and document everything you say. You know what sucks, Michelle? I've had to fire people I didn't agree with the firing.
Yes, that's
That
hard.
was rough because I understood, but I didn't agree. I feel
Yeah.
like, and especially there was one doctor, I feel like she could have worked a little harder to save that employee. I saw potential. It was a client, and I was really actually kind of sad. And I wanted to help this person, but I can't be like, okay, well, so
Right.
she's fired, but I think you're fine and call me later. Like, I wanted to say all those things. But as a manager, if you don't agree with a firing, you make your case, but remember whose practice it is, right?
Right.
Like, this is the job you've been hired to do. If that's what pushes you over the edge to leave, then that's fine, but you're there to do a job. So, yes, you've had to fire people you didn't wanna fire, like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
didn't think.
Oh, yeah. So we had a hygienist, and this was back when in Massachusetts, was just becoming legal for hygienists to give anesthesia.
Okay,
And we had a hygienist who'd been working at the practice, like her and I started around the same time.
okay.
And man, we were friends, but she also respected me as a manager. She does not like needles and refused to get her anesthesia license, and the doctor fired her. And well,
Wow.
I had to fire her.
Oh,
And,
wow.
again, another difficult situation for me, but I was like, really? Like, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, let her see regular cleaning
Yeah, she
patients.
doesn't have to do any scaling or replaning patients. She can do whatever. Or there's enough people in this office, someone can go help get her patient. Like, it's
Yeah.
not that big of a deal. She was a great hygienist. People loved her, a great employee. And
Wow.
that was a tough one.
Yeah. So, and well, she probably landed somewhere else and was making
Oh,
somebody
yeah.
else happy, I'm sure. So,
Yeah.
wow, that's tough. All right. So let's talk about the mentorship piece. And I know that's something, I mean, you've always been passionate about that. Like, you are always really good at connecting with the managers and helping them. So you're really loving this because this is something that with the startups, it was kind of included, but now you're like loving it enough to kind of carve it out as its own service. So if I'm calling you and I'm like, help, what does that look like?
Yeah. So it's not a one size fits all, right? Because every
Mhm.
practice is different, every manager is different. I kind of look at one, I've gotten really big lately on the disc profile. So I look
Okay.
at like, okay, is this person, they hired them. So we're going to make this work, right? So usually it's about 6 months of kind of coaching and mentoring. And we go over the things like I'm going to assume most of them have experience with scheduling and insurance and things like that. So it's not about the basics. It's about how to come into your role and be successful in
Right.
your role. What are the resources that you want to tap into? Like I am so big on reading leadership books, right? And I always like
Yeah.
the first thing that I say to a new manager, the two books that I always say are, and it's been around forever, The New 1 Minute Manager.
Oh
Love that
gosh,
book.
yeah.
Easy read, easy to implement, right? Not dental related at all, but that's
Mhm.
great. And then the other book that I really recommend is Who Will Do What by When. It's
Oh,
about
okay.
accountability and integrity and leadership, right? So,
Okay. We'll put links in the show notes to those books.
yes, so there you are. There's two books for you to read, whether you're a new manager or not. Like, it's a great way to get started. And then I kind of look at like, okay, here's the situations. Sometimes we handle situations like we put out the fires together,
Yeah.
right? So it's a little bit of an on demand, but it's also I've been doing this long enough. I know what's going to happen in your office, right?
No,
I
yeah.
also do a little interview with the doctor to make sure I know what the expectations are. And we go through that job description and we dissect it to make sure that they understand. Because, yeah, there might be some things that they've never done before. So we'll take a look at that. And then we look at ways for the manager to come up with, hey, maybe we should change our morning huddles to be more productive this way. Maybe we
Mm,
should do this for our team meetings. Hey, I noticed like our scheduling looks a little off. So now I am helping them do some forward thinking on how they can really make the practice grow. And I will even help them, like, depending on what their experience is with like putting an ad out or interviewing people and
sure.
kind of talking through the process, right? It's not about putting an ad out, talking to somebody on the phone and be like, I love you, come in and have a working interview. And oh, by the way,
Yeah.
30 minutes into the working interview, you're hired, fill out all the paperwork and start tomorrow, right?
These are all things that I've done. And we've all because
That's
nobody tells you it's supposed to be different, right? So,
exactly. So
yeah,
we go through those things, the things that they don't even know that they don't know.
yeah. Of
Right?
course.
And nobody teaches you. Again, as we go back to like what we talked about in the beginning of the conversation, sometimes the doctors don't even know what really goes into the role. And sometimes people are too afraid to put it out there in a Facebook group or ask somebody because they feel like
Mhm.
their question is stupid and they're going to get made fun of.
Yeah.
And so this allows them to have somebody that can coach them and mentor them and let them know like these are great learning opportunities. Like sometimes you do have to learn the hard way, but sometimes we can soften that blow a little bit. And now, like to handle it, I remember I had one new manager that we were working with early on, and her and the hygienist, they butted heads.
Oh, wow.
They butted heads. Two totally different personality
Okay.
types. And the manager, like the hygienist would push and push and push. And the manager was a very emotional person. So she would snap. And then,
Oh,
like, the emotions got involved, and then the outcome of it was a disaster.
wow.
So we worked really hard for her to say, like, I hear you. I need a minute. And that minute, like, you're going to settle it. Like, sometimes you just take a walk outside, get some fresh air, and be like, let
Oh,
me
yeah.
cooler heads prevail and let me think
Yep.
about it. Sometimes you might say like, okay, let me sit on this. I will get back to you tomorrow. Let me sleep on it. Cause I know myself, right? Me with my little Italian in me, in my dynamo personality, like you push me, you're not going to be happy with what
Yeah,
comes out of my
you're
mouth.
you're a little person, but there's a big Italian
It's a
inside of
big
you for sure.
So that's what we work on too is like just interacting with the different team members, right? Whether you have 3 team members or you have 20 team members in the office, like, most of the time, let's be honest, there's a lot of women in that office. So
Oh,
forget
yeah,
the
yeah,
different personality types that are in there. There's just a lot of women. So
right.
how do you deal with it? Because you cannot deal with every single person the same way.
Yeah,
So we do a lot of that because, again, I'm assuming they've worked in dentistry before. Like, I am all for bringing somebody outside of dentistry into a front office role, right? I have my new to dental boot camp, which I can work with them and
yeah,
train them on that. Like, I love that too. But bringing somebody who's never worked in dentistry into a management role in dentistry,
It's
talk
tough.
about a challenge.
That's a challenge. So you've got the new dentistry boot camp. You've got the seamless starts books on your
For
site.
onboarding team
Yeah,
members.
but I will tell you, it's wild to me that, like, you and I know that that's like a bad idea. But what I see in the DSO space is they bring in people from outside dentistry all the time
Yeah.
to manage other people. And then they hire somebody like me to tell them who's who in the dental office and what RCM looks like. And I'm like, you really couldn't find a rock star manager from one of your locations to bring up? You had to bring in somebody from the medical side? Like, this makes no
Which is
sense to
nothing
me.
like dental.
Oh my
Nothing.
gosh.
Nothing at all.
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, like, I appreciate that they wanna bring new manager energy in, but bring in some familiarity as well, you know? So, yeah, that's solid advice, though, like, you really need to almost control that conversation, like, if you say you need time and you'll get to them tomorrow, that doesn't mean that you're disrespecting them, that's you making sure
Yeah.
that you're gonna be alright for the conversation, because this is what happens, we get emotional when we're mad that people aren't doing what they're doing, like, that's normal.
Yeah.
Right? You'll handle it better the more experience you have, but it's normal for you to get so frustrated at stuff because this person is causing you to work harder on things that you don't want to work on because you've got other things to do. So it's natural for you to get frustrated. So take a moment. Like what Michelle's saying is right. Like give yourself a minute. You don't have to be Italian. I mean, she needs it more, but but you probably are going to have a better frame of reference after 24 hours anyways to have that conversation. This always happens to me. On the drive home, I think of things I should have said better. I would like the conversation is so good on my drive home, right? And then I'm like, "Oh man, if I had only waited." So,
I mean, it took me a long time to learn that because we tend to be reactive and you feel like you have to answer it in the moment and the outcome is not going to be great. It's not going to be great. But,
right.
so now I take like whether it's a minute and I just go outside and I get a breath of fresh air and clear my head a little bit. I walk to Dunkin' Donuts to get a coffee or whatever it is, or I sleep on it. And I've learned that in my personal life too. Like,
Mhm. Yeah.
which is funny that I married somebody who needs to address everything and get it resolved immediately because that's not me.
Oh, dude, that's Norman. I think we married the same guy. Like, Norman will bring me a problem, and I'm like, "Right now?" And he's like, "Yeah, 500 things."
Yeah.
Right? And, yeah, it's bizarre, but they're wonderful. And so is staff. Staff is wonderful too
Yes.
when it's working right, and that so we talked a lot about, like, all the stuff that can kinda go wrong, but, I mean, it's pretty magical when you've got a great team and things are, like, humming along, right? Like, talk about that. Like, I know you've had success stories. Talk about a success story.
So a lot of times I find it's not actually the people in the office if things are going wrong. It's the lack of systems and clarity and expectation and
Yeah.
accountability, right? Like, so
Yeah.
if you have those things, right? I have offices that have worked together for so long and that are so protective when somebody new comes in because they know they have a good thing. They come in, they work hard. The doctor rewards them really well. They enjoy the types of patients that they see. They
Mhm.
enjoy the types of dentistry that they're doing. They enjoy being around each other. Like, yeah, every once in a while you have something, but they truly enjoy it. Why? Because they know what to expect every day. It's
Yeah.
not changing constantly, right? The expectations are there. They talk as a group. They're all respected and supported by leadership and each other. Like,
Yeah.
that's important. Like, to be really honest with you, I was a terrible, terrible employee when I first started working. I was like such a mean girl. Oh
Oh
my God.
gosh.
I was terrible, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I
honestly,
will
we were young though. Like we had not even been taught how to be good employees yet. Nobody teaches you that. Like you learn from others, right?
I will never forget, like, the office that I worked at, there were 3 of us up at the front desk. And I, like, from the day one, I was an assistant and front. Like, I was always pulled back and forth. So to me, like, I feel like that made me such a strong employee for them because I could do either for
Mhm.
them, right? And so, which has really helped me later in my career. So, anyways, the way it was set up though was like 2 of us were facing the back wall. So our backs were towards the patients as they were checking in. And one person sat at the front desk and was like the face.
Yeah.
Well, I will never forget. They brought in like the new associate, soon to be partner, was from Colombia. So he spoke Spanish, which meant we were going to be attracting a lot more Spanish speaking patients, right? So
Okay.
the logical thing to do, as I look back at this 20 something years later, was like, you need to hire somebody who speaks Spanish because I don't speak Spanish, right? I
That
was
seems like a good step.
right. So, and this is what I got mad at, and like I've literally refused to talk to this person. I wouldn't help her or anything. Is they said the phone rings the most during 12 to 1. So we want the Spanish speaking person to go to lunch from 1 to 2. Well, that was my lunchtime. So they were
Oh.
making me switch for my lunch to be 12 to 1 and
Oh.
her go, this poor girl, it wasn't even her fault. And
Right.
she would ask me questions and I would literally not answer her. I would just keep my back and I'd be like doing my stuff and I would just
Yeah.
ignore her. She turned
Oh.
out down the road once I got over myself and realized, like, hey, she's not going anywhere. And going to lunch at 12 is really not a big deal. But we became really good friends, like,
Oh, good.
after that, and I was like but I'm like, I was not a nice person, and, like, that doesn't create a great atmosphere in the office, so,
Yeah.
you know, I think going in there, you don't have to be best friends with everybody, but I think if you respect each other
Mhm.
professionally, you support each other, which means everybody does their job and stop worrying about everybody else.
Oh my gosh, yeah, yeah, like, I mean, little narcs running around everywhere, like, that's what drives me crazy. It's like, I don't need a trip report, like, you went to the bathroom, you don't need to tell me everything you saw on the way. Like, geez, like, she's probably gonna clean her room, give her a break, like, she's
Yeah.
probably doing instruments, like, calm down. So, I know, it's crazy, but you do have the weirdest personalities when you get a whole bunch of people in the room, and I'll just say it, it's probably not politically correct, but when you get a bunch of women in the room,
Oh, yeah.
oh, forget it, right? Like, sometimes when women get along, it's great, very empowering. When women
But when
don't
they
get
don't.
along, no wonder men sit back and grab popcorn and watch because we're terrible. We're
And
terrible
I
people.
feel terrible for the male doctor who has an all-female staff because they're just
That's a lot.
like
That's most of them.
I know, and they're
That's
just like,
most of them, and
"What is
they're like,
going
"I'm not,"
on?"
like, and I'm like, "Oh, do you need to talk to her?" "Oh, I don't know what to say to her. Like, she scares me. I've heard that. She scares me." Why is she working?
Oh, I had an instance where the doctor called me. He was, like, hiding in the bathroom of his private office, and he calls me, he said, "Michelle, I don't know what to do. These 2 they're out there screaming at each other. Like, there's patients there, they're fighting," and I was like, "What do you mean you don't know what to do?" So I was like, "Do me a favor." Like, this was the best. "Do me a favor." He's like, "What?" I'm like, "You have a private entrance to your office, like, into your office. You can leave the building, right?" He's like, "Yes." I go, "Walk out of the building. Walk around the building. Go to the front door. Whose name is on the front door?"
Good for you. Yep, good,
And he's like,
good.
"Mine." I go, "Great. Now you're going to walk in there and you're going to pull the 2 of them into your office and you're going to have a very frank discussion of this unprofessional behavior and you're going to act like a boss." Because
And did he
I
do it?
Yes, oh my gosh,
Oh,
it was like I was there kind of on the phone, kinda like
yeah.
helping guide
Oh,
this
I'm proud
conversation,
of
but it's
him. I'm
like,
proud
I
of
was
him.
too because, like, it's really hard to stand up and, like, when you got 2 women fighting over something, oy, 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 you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
and
but
we
you're right.
hold grudges and it's not great. And doctors, like, males in general, it just let it roll off their shoulders, like, "I don't understand what the big deal is that
I
she
know.
wore blue today when she was supposed to wear the maroon color, like, just get over it."
It's so crazy. I mean, honestly, we should just get some of our friends that we get on a regular chat with, we should get them all on here and just tell, like, these crazy
Oh, yeah.
stories. I don't really think when you're an office manager and you've been in a great office for a while, this is what I hear. "I think I could be a consultant. I really run this office really well." I mean, you and I did this, right? Like, "Oh, I could be a consultant because our office is so well run." And then you get out there and you realize, like, what you just described happens way more than the magic stuff we just talked about.
Yes.
So, and it's crazy. So, I mean, we've seen some stuff,
It keep
right? So it's crazy out there,
keeps me
but
entertained, and like I always say, just when I thought I'd seen everything in dentistry,
never say
then
that.
every year, there's at least 2 things that I'm like, "In my 30 years of doing this, I've never, ever." And now, okay, and like, of course, right, I started off when I was 15, I was the youngest in the office for a very long time, right? Like, now I'm
Yeah.
old. Now I'm
Yeah.
old, right? And I'm looking at these people coming in their early 20s and the stuff that's happening, and I'm just like, "Thank God I'm not managing an office
Oh my
anymore."
gosh, yeah. No, honestly, I would probably be like, everybody gets fired, like, within 10 days. I have 0 patience anymore, and that's why I'm glad I'm on this side of dentistry, like, helping others because on the front lines, you do need an inordinate amount of patience, and I gotta be honest, I just don't have it anymore. I
No.
just don't. I don't have it for patients. I don't have it for employees. I don't even have it for dentists sometimes, so
Well, that's why
But
I enjoy working with the startup doctors, the newer doctors, or even like a new manager, is
Mhm.
because because like I want to share the passion and the knowledge that I've gained over the 30 years so it doesn't take them 30 years to get there.
Right. Absolutely.
That's what I
Absolutely.
want to
And
do.
that energy is pretty cool. Startup energy is great. Honestly,
Yeah.
the doctors are so like ready to do things and you suggest things and they're like, oh yeah, let's try that. And meanwhile, it's like a 12-step program to get a veteran doctor to listen to a
Oh, yeah.
suggestion, so it's a little different.
Are you a dental biller feeling overwhelmed and isolated? I get it. The world of revenue cycle management is complex and ever changing. That's why I created Dental Revenue Network. Our membership community was created to help you become a better revenue cycle manager and small business operator. Say goodbye to feeling alone and hello to a supportive community of dental billing professionals. Here's what you'll get: monthly billing focused meetings with peers and experts, business building sessions to elevate your career, resource libraries tailored for billers and billing company owners, introductions to cutting-edge RCM technologies and companies, and a vibrant community for networking and support. Ready to transform your dental billing experience? Visit dentalrevenuenetwork.com today. Don't wait. Join us now and navigate the business of RCM with confidence.
All right, so let's wrap up here. We went over, but that's okay. It's fun. In September, you are going to be one of the spotlight speakers at Practice Management Power Day in Denver on Friday, September 25th. The day before, Beverly Wilburn's Dental Spouses in Business will have their meeting. So if you are a partner or spouse working in the practice, you need to actually get involved in her group. She has a great membership. Then on Saturday, after your time of speaking and my time of speaking, Dental Revenue Network, my membership, will have their annual meeting on Saturday. So if you're a member or interested, you should plan for that too. So your session in Practice Management Power Day, though, you're doing something that I was so happy to have you do this because I feel like this needs to be done at more events, is you're going to walk them through annual planning using like profit and loss and budgeting, not just like, this is what we did last year, this is what we want to do this year. Like you're going to actually walk them through with worksheets and critical thinking and not emotional thinking. And so just real quick, like this is something you do like all the time with people. You used to do this for our clients.
Yep. I still do it with my clients every day. And it takes the guesswork out of like setting the goal of like, am I setting it too high? Am I setting it too low? We're going to really dissect the profit and loss and look at, okay, here's what we spent last year. Here's where our expenses are. Do we need to make any adjustments to things? And then we add in wish list items. Are you looking to purchase a new CVCT or a milling machine or 3D printer or equipment operatory? How many more staff members do you want? Like, what are we doing for salary increases? All of those things, we build it in and create a budget and reverse engineer how you can ensure you're collecting the right amount of money each month.
Yeah. Honestly, it's an exercise that a lot of experienced managers want to be a part of and they're not. Like a lot of times they're not part of that
Yeah.
conversation or it's just not done in the office. It's usually what I see a lot, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just, I feel like the manager is underutilized in this situation. A CPA setting kind of the goals. Whereas when the manager's involved and can see it, like then I can really understand why we do X, not Z and all this kind of thing. So I think it's going
There's
to be a
more
great session.
buy-in. There's more
Yeah.
buy-in when they understand the why behind it.
Yeah.
When you just said, like the CPA said, we have to collect $200,000 a month, they don't understand. They need to know why. It's
Yeah.
so that we can afford these things. We can do these CE courses. We can purchase new equipment. We can remain state of the art. We can retain our team members. That's why. And this is how we're going to get there. Because when you tell your team, I want to collect $2.4 million for the year, that is really scary.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, even going like, so you think about 2.1 to 2.4,
Yeah.
doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're at that level, that's a lot.
That is a
right?
lot.
So yeah, you've got to know how to plan for that. And you've also got to know the intention of the practice. That's why this meeting in particular, the whole day is for experienced practice managers and their dentists, because maybe this is one situation that comes up. Maybe the doctor is planning on a transition out or something like that. That greatly changes the goals. So that's a whole different layer that, that we need to consider. So I'm excited to bring more education to experienced managers because I feel like you and I, we kind of leveled up. And then you and I were always like, can we take CE? And I just want to be able to give them like the high level
Yeah.
CE. And I feel like this is going to be perfect for them. So I'm excited. So people check the show notes because I have a link to register. Hope we see you there. And yeah, I think it's going to be kind of fun. So, and it's out by the Denver airport near Denver itself, if you feel like, enjoying the city. But yeah, I'm excited about that. And then Accelerate Your Dental Practice is your podcast with Malika.
Podcast,
And so
yes.
we'll do a link in the show notes to that. And then you really, hopefully, I have some people calling you because I think there's a lot of mentorship and coaching that is needed out there. So,
And I'm really hoping, Teresa, to have a group, some kind of membership for new managers. So
yeah,
that way, like, they'll have other new managers that are in the same situation. So that is a goal of mine for 2026.
I know.
So
So
stay
you've
tuned.
always been good with just the manager group. I mean, that's always been our heart. So, and you have more patience than I do. So new managers, I think, are going to be perfect for you. So, not that I'm not patient, but like I feel like now the lanes are more defined, I think, going
Yeah.
into 2026 for like what you want to do and what I want to do. So, but okay, well, Affinity Dental Management is the name of your company. We'll put links in the show notes.
No, it's
And
actually Affinity Management Consulting, but that's okay.
Affinity Management
Yes.
Consulting. See, and I knew that.
You helped
I
me
just
create the name,
I know.
Affanato Michelle,
This is
Affinity
terrible.
Management. That's
See,
okay.
this
Just
is what
find me.
happens when you're such close friends with someone. You kind of just forget the details, like little things like the name of their company. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. They'll find me.
They'll find you because I'll put a link in the show notes. So, all right, everyone. Thanks for coming back on again. Appreciate
Thanks
you
for
very much.
having me. I appreciate it.
Yep. And dear listeners, as always, I appreciate that you spend your time with me.
If you learned something new today, subscribing is the best way to support the channel and keep learning with us.
We're all super busy, so thank you for making time for me today. The show notes will have any links that we referenced in the episode. You can also find links for my book, events, and my online insurance course, Dental Insurance Design and Management. I speak often around the country on management and insurance issues. Come hang out with me in one of my classes. I promise you'll laugh and learn.